your chair over a little bit
Okay.
so we can have a conversation.
All right.
Ow. So, Albert, tell the cadre a little bit about yourself, who and what you do, and not so much your job, but your passion, and how long you've been doing it, and what got you into it, and all that.
For the harsh day-to-day jobs, I build the metal fabrication and for lamps and furniture. The real passion, the real career, which I try every day to make it, is a new filmmaking career. Starting a clean slate. One of my biggest points is on superhero fiction, my style, and the biggest way that occurred is due to my long since dead father's most hilarious prank to get me interested in the subject.
How old were you when you did that?
I was 6 years old at the time, and though it was already some point genetic in the family from before, and even with my half brother, which I have met now, that it's the new thing in my life. The Batman call has been some point genetic, but it just needs a little push to go in there.
So your half brother, you haven't seen him at all until recently?
I did not know he existed. He was my father's child. I didn't know that he was a real thing until one remarkable day after my dad died. I am talking to my psychiatrist, and then he calls me to tell me that my stepmother, the woman he married that was my biggest ally, just got the result of a DNA test from my still living grandfather, his father, between him and his child, which is about 14 years old. And then I see a picture of the kid, and the likeness
of you and him
is uncanny.
He's your bro.
He's my bro, little Shane.
So how long have you been interacting with Shane?
Ever since I found him, I got interested. He's interested in me. I'm interested in him. He never knew our father, so I've been continuously dealing with him on and off every time we can find the time to spend time.
So is that a good relationship?
Yes, it is. It's turning into one.
Good. How far away is he?
Oh, he is local, but he lives like in this tiny little cottage house which is falling down on itself on halfway across the other side of town. So it's not like
he's in the Roanoke there.
Yeah, he's in, but he's a little bit further off. I can't just walk there.
Right.
Has to be driven.
Have we gone and seen him?
Yeah, he and I have, and with Shepard have taken a few dinner dates in Arendelle during holidays to do things. I'm trying to set up another one. We're trying to figure out another one. We don't get to do as much like, but we have to.
So what's he into?
He's different because he's a sportsman, particularly NASCAR. But even he has the hero fiction Batman thing rolling in him. Like I say, I think it's genetic. I think it's something is genetic because it was in my great grandfather, it was in my grandfather, it was in my father, it was in me, and now it's in my half brother. So I'm thinking somewhere it's genetic.
What do you think that is? I mean, how can a comic book superhero be genetic?
Something. Well, let me tell you the fun point of the craziness which goes with that. I discovered my great-great-grandfather who died years ago something important about his background. He was a cop in Roanoke City on what they like to call the dangerous hazards of a suicide beat. There's actually a book on Roanoke history where you can find him. He was a tough, hard case motorcycle cop that dealt with a murder that occurred in the building, which used to be a church in this local Roanoke Valley, and it actually ended up in the history books several decades ago, long before me and my father was born. But something just rubbed off. I can't really explain it, but to get in there, all you need is a little push, and my father just thought it would be so amusing to give me that push. One of the times we used to spend time together when he was trying to sort himself through places. He spent a lot of time at my great-grandparents' house, which I was lucky enough to know, and my namesake, my great-grandfather, he had done many things in his life, from Second World War vet to charity man at the SPCA to every sort of thing. And in his basement, he had just collections of things from all the points of life of the things he did. Now, there was this one item which is taller than me and that was in this huge locked off industrial wooden crate, which I, of course, wouldn't know what it was, couldn't get open, didn't see what was in it. My father apparently knew exactly what was inside it. So one particular night, he thought it would be very amusing to show it to me in the dead of night. In this little house, there are 3 levels, and the top room has only two rooms on the top. There's the upstairs, 2 bedroom guest room, one for my father, one for the kid upstairs, and the big bathroom across the hall, across the landing. So he gets in the dead of night, pulls whatever this is out of the crate, and puts it between the door and my kitty bed. As a child, I was a very light sleeper. When I needed to go to the bathroom, I was very good at waking up to go do it. So I wake up, just rubbing the sleep out of my eyes, just, really tired. There's full moonlight coming in through the Venetian blinds on the little windows in the room. I get up, I turn to my left, and then I fall back on the bed in terror because standing between me and the door frame is an almost 6-foot high, black, pointed eared, clawed winged something with glowing white eyes in the dark, staring at me and my bed.
Was that a mannequin or your father?
I'm getting to that, but like I say, I just decide I'm gonna hold it and wait until morning, which I do, and then the sun comes up. Back then, as a child, not really knowing anything about it, I had no idea what it was. You know what it was? It was a full body replica of the 1989 Michael Keaton Batman suit on a clothing dummy holding the cape up to make it look like it was in flight, and with the moonlight hitting the white dummy's face in the dark, it looked like the iconic glowing Batman eyes.
Were you into Batman by then?
No, I had no idea what that was, but he got exactly what he wanted out of it. Daddy, what is this? So he takes me down to the basement with the photo lab and the old movie theater of multiple occasions my grandfather does, and he shows me the movies that are at this point one by one. And I love it because
So what did that do to you?
It definitely got me hooked because of how he got me hooked, because he knew exactly what, because something that Papa, my great grandfather, used to do. He used to volunteer work at the Greenland when it was brand new, when he was young, before his time. And something he had the old film projector with the record and the film reels of things that they are only recently starting to put on the disc now. So the first Batman movie I saw was the old 1943 black and white Columbia TriStar serial with all 15 segments. That was the first one I saw the way that it was originally seen in that tiny little theater when it all started. And then my father moving up to 66. And then I watched the 20th Century Fox gave me 66 Batman movie, and I get hooked even further in multiple different ways from that film, starting with some of the villains with my observations. I see the Riddler, and I get not only my favorite color green, but my respect for everything is the intellect to him, and that's why I become good when I go to school or anything I learn. I develop this. I see what is supposedly the silly, campy Caesar and a Joker, but I don't see it as silly. That sequence with him giving a friendly peace handshake where he shocks them with the buzzers in his hand with visible lamp, like something is sick, something is wrong with this man is dangerous. I look at the film Catwoman and I get my first attraction to girls and I end up with a girlfriend in less than a year after that. A working relationship.
Was she a girlfriend? I mean, was she a Catwoman?
Let's be interested. I actually was successful with cougars. Let's put it that way, because I was about 7. She was actually 11 years old, and we continued this on for several years. So, so yes, this. And then
let's skip up to today.
Yes.
And say, okay, so now you have this connection with this genre, and you're trying to develop it in your own way. What is that connection? What is that genre? And how are you trying to develop it in your own way?
My understanding of the genre with where I am now compared to where it started long before my time now is it looks to me most of the appearance when they're continuously resetting the thing looks a little bit dated and it's in the point. It's like they continuously make these big cinematic films and they just adjust and change the actors and keep everything the same instead of thinking that the thing that needs to be the same is the soul of where the genre started. But the design of the characters themselves could be a little bit more interesting as to what they
what's
are.
the soul? And who's the most present actor playing Batman? What's his name?
The present one who is about to step down, well, technically he's stepping down. I know they can't really get rid of him because he did such a marvelous job, which I laugh myself silly because people are like, oh no, it's him. He can't do it right. I'm like, guys, Ben Affleck played Daredevil perfectly. It's not that far a jump.
Right.
I wasn't worried. I was not even a little bit worried when he said it all because he's done urban dark vigilantes before he
I
did
thought he
this.
was better than who's the guy before him?
Yeah, he was definitely better than Bale. There's no doubt in my mind. Yeah, there was no doubt in
Like Bale was like phoning it in.
Yeah, he was. Bale was better at playing half of the persona with the Bruce Wayne thing, but of course his voice for Batman, it was so over the top you just couldn't believe and accept it. It was too bestial. I think he realized when he got to the second film, The Dark Knight, he's like, oh god, what have I done? That's why when he did the last one, he kind of stepped it back and stepped it down a little bit, but he wasn't really that particularly good. I mean, because Ben did a whole lot more than just look apart, because they've cultured him to look like one of my favorite versions, which is the Frank Miller version of the characters. They have the in-jokes to Frank's word. However, he added his own choice element to make it more believable.
So was he the Batman when who's the guy who played the Joker and then died?
Bale was the one with Heath who died, yes.
Heath Ledger, right?
Right. And they've been trying to find someone to do better and full.
And they haven't.
Well, that's the thing. The next guy with the film that they're going to be, which is specifically about the Joker, he might actually be a better start. Because my thing, of course, with the Joker is you really don't want to deliberately copy what has been done before. You really should try for harder or better than that. You know, Heath made his great impression with his own take on it,
Right.
but you have to really concentrate. I mean, the last one they did with Ben Delwith, which was Jared Leto, was a disaster because what they were really doing was the entire movie, they're just changing his costume so he looks like versions of the character they had been drawn over the years. And the overly tattooed function. No, they need to think of something a little bit more. This next film actually looks a little bit better because of part of the conversation for the
Is
character.
this the same guy who's playing the Joker that played the Joker in what's that group where his girlfriend goes and kills people?
No, thankfully they got rid of Jared Leto from Suicide. This is a completely new man. I've seen the preview for this film that's about to start. And
That
it
guy
looks,
wasn't that bad, but you know the thing about Ledger, he was so. After him, you really have to step up to do it.
exactly
Because he
because
did such a great job of portraying a sociopath.
exactly.
Because he kept changing. You want to know how I got this smile? It was a different story each time. And that's what
Yes,
sociopaths would do.
that's my favorite. He was a brilliant step up change from what was Jack Nicholson. Because
Right.
with Jack, we got the story of how he came to be, and we didn't. Most of us, really didn't really care for it that much when we
not
got
that,
there.
or even believed it.
Exactly, it was a little bit
Whereas
too.
Ledger keeps changing it. You go, well, this guy's totally whack. So, of course, he's changing the story to fit whatever situation.
Yes,
he's
the great thing about what Heath did with that, the funny thing about Jack and Heath when they did it, as a matter of fact, it's on that shelf over there. Hang on a second. The thing that they're both taken from when doing it, but one of them did it better than the other, is this book right here.
Uh-huh.
Alan Moore's Batman the Killing Joke, which is one of the things he hated writing, by the way.
Right.
Something important about it is there's a great dialogue between Joker and Batman in the story near the end of the thing, near the very end of the book.
There's a whole, this is.
Yeah, it's a whole story. It was a whole story. But when the author did it, he was trying to do an alternate thing, but it did so popular it became part of the canon. But this is the story which Tim used to say Jack fell into the chemicals and ended up like that, because that
Right.
story is in here. But the thing which Heath was sampling, which is the better thing, in the end of this book with the climax, is a speech which Joker has to Batman when he's got him in a fun house for the final gauntlet. And what Joker has been trying to do, he has been trying to drive, and it completely failed, of course, to drive straight-laced cop James Gordon insane, which completely failed. It's just not gonna work. He does things by the book. He's the best there is when it comes to the cops. So he has been waiting for Batman to invite him with a carnival ticket, and he gives Batman this little speech comparing them to all these different things. And he says, all it ever takes is one bad day to reduce the sanest man alive to complete insanity. You had a bad day too, right? I'm right. And basically, and what he goes on to say, this is the part that Heath used for the performance when he played it, which is, something like that happened to me. I'm not really sure what it was. Sometimes I remember it one way, sometimes another. If I'm going to have a version of the past, I prefer multiple choice.
Right.
And that is exactly how Heath played it.
And it fits perfectly for whatever's going on. You know, when he's up against the mob guys around that table, he's this Joker.
Yes, to scare the boss before he kills him, he tells him, I had an abusive alcoholic father that did that. To scare a straight-laced lawyer's assistant, a story about him doing it to himself as wife, will begin to cause the fear. The brilliant thing about the Joker hasn't come up with Batman is the entire point. He's doing what Batman did, just from the other side.
Yeah,
it's to inspire
fear.
fear.
That the Batman trilogy or series or whatever you want to call it, that Batman and Joker are mirror images of each other. And that's kind of why the Batman and Superman thing didn't work, because they weren't. They weren't mirror images. It's more like they were kind of competing jocks in the high school.
Yeah, actually, that's actually pretty funny. That's actually a very good way to put it. But like I said, that's the thing, because
they weren't this tantamount good and evil. And
they were just on the same side. Their methods were just completely the opposite way of what they think is acceptable.
And the thing about Batman against the Joker is that Batman is the Joker, because other than killing people, he'll do anything to you.
Right. Whereas the clown will go that far step, and he will do the other thing.
Other thing is that's what the Joker gets off on.
Exactly.
It's the terror, putting the person into that, give him a good 48 hours freaking out, and then kill him.
Precisely.
In the worst of ways.
It's like a game. I found this picture with the comparison between the two characters. There's this picture that an artist made from the forum I'm member of, which is a Batman Spider-Man picture, which has the picture of them and the Joker and the Green Goblin on either side, and Batman holding the bodies of the people closest that they kill. Batman holding Robin 2, Jason Todd, and Spider-Man holding Gwen Stacy. And over the top of the picture, it says, all these rules, and you think it'll save them.
Well, the rules are just there. It's a Malthusian motif. Rules are just there to enable people in power to do what they want.
Exactly.
They're not held to the rules, but
they're
going to hold you to them.
Yeah, for example, I don't know if it's safe to say honestly because this is going to streaming, but I'll just be honest anyway. I discovered a horrible truth about the business practices of two companies that are running the hero fiction genre right now, because Warner Bros. Mostly got the DC thing, and Disney's got the Marvel right now.
Right.
I discovered the most horrendous things about those two companies of how they handle business.
Yeah. Well,
Which is, and you know what that is?
What?
I discovered which side I am on. I was already leaning towards DC Warner Bros., but now we've got evidence beyond a shadow of a doubt because of what happens.
Well, they're all corrupt.
I know, but something which is good about them, which makes them just a little bit better. When Disney makes a profit off a motion picture, a big seller, do you know what they do that money with every time? They use it to do another movie, make a bunch of lousy toys for kids, or build an addition to that theme park.
Right.
Do you know something that what's the differences of what Warner Brothers does when it makes a blockbuster?
Right.
A considerable sum of every one of their blockbusters goes to fund or to set up every global charity for helping all living things on this planet.
Well, the problem about charities is
yeah,
that it's a scam
I know.
because they're doing it either to make money off it or just to make themselves look really good for all the other crappy stuff.
Yeah, I know that, but at least
At least
I like
they're doing that.
But at least they're doing that. Disney's not doing anything even close to that.
Disney is satanic, or God knows what Disney really is because Walt Disney really didn't live too long.
Yeah, and by the way, I guess the impression every time I do something else with this stuff like this, I get he rolled in his grave for the 3,000th time. He'll do it so many times the world will have earthquakes. Possibly. I don't know, but
because
it would be nice.
They got the chemistry of that down.
Mm-hmm.
Disney probably makes more money than any other media conglomerate on the planet. And the other side of the coin is Disney's got its finger in every other conglomerate.
Yeah, I mean, now, but you know what's funny? I realize there's a falling bright side for me to snicker at with this now because of something they just appropriated. They just appropriated 20th Century Fox, right? Does anybody realize something about this? This means there are two very non-kid-friendly characters which are Disney princesses now. You know what they are? Klinger from MASH and the Alien Queen.
Well,
that's how I look at it.
That's as close to any royal family you want to get.
Exactly. You see my point.
Really.
You see.
You look at the Windsors, who aren't even Windsors. Those guys were Nazis. They came from Germany.
Yeah.
What's his name? Queen of England's husband, Philip.
The Prince of Windsor.
He freaking went to prep school in a Nazi prep school. He was wearing the swastika on his arm.
I remember.
So
still, and by the way, you'll be proud of something. Speaking of things relating to that, technically speaking, guess what? Thanks to Brandon, I finally got to do.
What?
I told you. There was one Mel Brooks film I had never seen before.
No, what was that?
The original.
Which one?
The Producers.
Oh, yeah.
I had never seen The Producers before.
With Zero Mostel and
Gene and Wilder. Yeah, well, I finally saw it. Brandon took me to see it.
I love that scene where Gene Wilder loses his mind.
Yes! I cannot work under these conditions!
Yeah. When he's like, because he's like this totally straight-laced, by-the-book guy, and Zero's like breaking every rule there is, like da-da-da-da-da-da.
I know.
He skips through it all. And and when they, so Gene kind of signs on for taking all these old ladies' money, and then they have to find the worst musical that could ever be, and it becomes a straight up hit. It's like,
yes, so they try to blow up the theater. They get arrested.
Yep.
But the arrest is light charged because they're still allowed to make their plays in the penitentiary. And this time it's not quite so illegal because the warden's paying for it.
Yep.
So it's too much.
That guy who produced that and wrote it, he was a genius.
My favorite thing when I got to see.
I wish there were more geniuses like him.
I'm gonna do something very tributing with one of the heroes I haven't designed yet. There's something very special.
You know what hero you should have in Blazing Saddles? There's Mongo. You should do Mongo because Mongo's this total idiot until someone says something to Mongo. And Mongo goes, Mongo just flotsam in the esoteric stream of the existential, and he goes on in this French kind of thing. And then,
Yes, but as I say, but yeah, we were gonna be. It's funny that you mentioned that because we are referencing Blazing Saddles because of the main thing I'm redesigning. Something important. There's an old vintage character from the beginning of Marvel that everyone forgets. Everyone who knows the story of the Ghost Rider is familiar with the 1980s altercation that the Sam Ceramic, but everyone forgets the original hero from 1967, which was literally like a ghost cowboy in the dark. But the twist in my version, of course, is it's Bart from Blazing Saddles under the ghost suit. So and the brilliant thing about the Captain America in the team of that world is Captain America is an Apache Native American wearing the suit. So there will be this brilliant little reference to that film when they start working together. For the people they put me together with, they put me with the cowboy. What's wrong with that? Well, I hate to say it, but that's because I am the Indian. He just goes, don't be too quick to judge by appearance,
Right.
partner. Pulls off his mask, we can see him.
Right.
Holy medicine bundle.
Yes.
You're darker than me.
Yeah.
Yes, that. And something important. My guy signed on to play that part. He said he would do this version of the Phantom Rider, which will be an homage to Bart from Tales on one condition: we have to give him the sidekick
So
based on Gene Wilder's character.
you put all this time in. You've got all these characters.
Yes.
You've got a great storyline. Why don't you start doing a YouTube channel and just start making little snippets of this stuff to get it out?
Guess what we're getting ready to
Not
do?
the whole movie. I mean, these people who try to do an hour and a half YouTube, no. I mean,
Yeah.
I can do a pretty long one, but it's just me telling a story.
Pretty much.
But
Yeah, well,
if you did your thing where you and it would be like a teaser, and when it would be a teaser too, not so much for the larger general audience, but a teaser for the people who would give you money to make your product.
Yeah, well, we find, as I don't know if I managed to say because we've been out of contact so long, that finally is becoming closer to becoming a real thing because we finally got the microphones and the recording equipment for those sessions for exactly what you're describing.
And
we're getting ready to start that up.
A guy came to visit me in the Deep Green. He's a filmmaker, and he had this camera that was about this big.
So do we.
And it was a little square, and the lens was like it was like a fisheye, but it didn't do what a fisheye does. Meaning it looked like a 50 millimeter, like everything. Nobody was bent out of shape, but you saw from here to here.
Right.
And he just kind of did this, and it doesn't look like a camera. It's a little. It looks like an ice cream.
We've got the same camera Dan's got there for the
Right.
equipment too, for the
And you
standard
don't
stuff.
need any special anything.
No.
The microphones are amazing. I mean, I don't know how well my little thing here is picking up on this, but that thing is pretty amazing. So he came and visited me, and I was pretty amazed. And it has like, a zillion hours on its little hard drive inside.
Right.
It's like you can do it for days.
Yeah, we're getting ready. We're getting ready to do this. Something important which we're going to do is we're going to be taking me, Dan, Brandon, and the rest of our staffs, all our graphic novel collections, and turning those into reading visual films on the YouTube using our own voice and whoever is willing to assist us. That's going to be the first thing. That's what we're going to do to start forming the budget step by step.
Right,
Something small that everybody can just enjoy and
Right,
get
and
something
that's
out
a
of
good
it.
enjoy doing too.
Right.
I want you to talk about that because a lot of people get involved in creating stuff, like on YouTube or painting or this and that,
Mhm.
and they get pretty good at it, and they want to be famous, And if you look at anybody, like they just sold a Matisse painting for $110 million. But when Matisse was like my age, and he had been painting for like 20 years, people said, "Well, this guy sucks. What is that? You can't even tell what that is. What is that?"
Right.
He
Yeah.
was just one of the first impressionists. He was so before the impressionists. They didn't even call it that.
Mhm.
But that's kind of what he was. He was, a forerunner.
Yeah.
So I see so many people not even doing this to create. They do it because they want to make a fortune and become famous.
That is not the primary goal. I'd say that would be, the backup or the tertiary goal at the very least. Not the primary thing, but the reason why I want to do it, right now with the films, right now we have this hero fiction boom on the films with all these people thinking they can just do it however they want and not following the morals of the standard. No, the reason I want to do it is because I want to and live long doing it is to leave a kind of artistic integrity on the genre that my favorite two directors, Jim Henson or Stanley Kubrick, did with their
Right,
stuff.
right.
But I also just want to have
And both those guys were the same school in that they only did the movie they wanted to do.
exactly.
Like all these other guys just want the money. I mean, they get their little hit, and so the
Yeah,
producers will-
that's merely an add-on to
Right.
my living for what I'm doing. No,
Like,
I'm doing
J.J. Abrams. I mean, J.J. Abrams and Steven Spielberg was kind of outside of that loop because they were basically picked
Mhm.
to do a certain thing,
right.
and because of their genetic predilection, they were given the auspices to do all the stuff they've done.
Right.
And they are talented and they are pretty amazing, but not even close to Stanley Kubrick. No one's close to Stanley. Nobody. Look, he did 2001 without a computer. He just had little models.
And just imagine what in the hell did he use to train those apes for that scene in the beginning of the movie?
Well,
that
there's a very good. That was the last scene they shot. The apes.
that scene that's supposed to be at the beginning was the last thing
Because
they shot.
they were showing the thing in a different way, and as they were editing it, they kept saying, "Well, this doesn't really, what should we do?" And the other guy who wrote the book, what's his name?
Arthur C. Clarke.
Arthur C. Clarke. Well, we should, because what Arthur C. Clarke said, this should be like two bookends, right? And we should go from like before caveman, to the new human, the transhuman human. And that's
Right.
what, when the astronaut goes through that flashing lights, that's straight out of what people talk about when they die.
Well, that was the beautiful thing of what Stan did with that. Honestly,
Yeah.
it took me forever to finally watch it, but thanks to this library here, I was finally able to rent it and watch it for myself,
Right.
which was a big pain. You know what the biggest pain with that was? You want to guess what I had seen?
Right. 2010.
I had seen the 2010 film.
Which is
It's not perfect, but you know what I like about that film? It's the only successful attempt to pull a sequel off a Kubrick film.
right.
I mean, it's the only
But
successful good
the thing
attempt.
about Kubrick is that why his films are the way they are is that they are the alpha and omega,
Right.
meaning every Lolita, every Paths of Glory, every movie, you can't almost make a sequel. And so 2010 wasn't a sequel. It was just taking that storyline and making a different movie. But it wasn't a sequel.
Yeah.
Not even
However,
close.
the book itself is
Right.
practically a sequel, which they're both
Right.
based on.
Right.
My biggest pain, however, with that is, do you know something? There's three of those.
Yeah.
There's the last one, 2068, which I really would actually go for someone trying to do that one.
Did you read that?
I have two, and I had three. Had to go to a library to read one. I have not finished three yet, but what I've gotten into three so far, I have enjoyed a lot.
So what's it called? 2068?
2068.
Because you know what 2068 is? I'm a demographer. I get paid to look at really long trends, like
Right.
thousands of years, not just 2 years.
Right.
And we have left the Piscean age,
Mm-hmm.
and we're in the Aquarian age.
Right.
Piscean age is getting what you want through violence and force, and the Aquarian age is getting what you need through understanding and generosity, right?
About time.
But they have the old world has a gravity
Right. To try to
that
keep it.
that
quiet.
isn't letting the other. Now in 2000 is when it really, actually the Aquarian age started in 1965
Mm-hmm.
with that song "It's the Age of Aquarius."
Okay.
In the summer of, right?
Yes, I know.
And that song really does pin all of the right dates, right? And in 2030, with man is still alive.
Oh, I
and,
remember that one from the
God
60s
is
too.
not around, and da 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 da. I think they're talking about transhumanism, basically. So it started the influence, the inertia of the Piscean Age was lessening by the Aquarian Age in 1965. By 2000, they were like this. Their energies were like, infecting each other, right? 2012 is when we totally no longer are in the Piscean Age whatsoever. But still, that inertia is still there. And
It's
that's
still
why
holding.
all this craziness is going on. And that's why
Yeah,
people feel
me,
so bent out of shape.
me and Dan had a wonderful conversation about how, from our perceptions of how much we discover what we learn about it, we realize just how much of the world is festering in its own insanity.
Well, it has always done that.
I know, but it's me as a late developer of noticing it going around this rapidly. That's the amazing part. I
Well,
have
that's the
something.
that's the difference. But you know what it is? If you go and look at history,
Mm-hmm.
that pretty much every time something happens, end of Mesopotamia, end of Babylon, end of the Greek empires, end of the Roman empires, they all rebrand themselves. Meaning Mesopotamia, became Egypt. Egypt became, Greece. Greece became Rome. Rome became England, and England, So
Right.
it's like nothing changes, but everything gets rebranded. And right now, and that happens because the general human nature starts to go, something's wrong with this. Meaning they're shown this big tapestry to believe this is what your life should be, right? Then they start pulling on that string and it gets tattered.
The tapestry.
And when it gets so tattered,
As I recall, you said you weren't a big Star Trek guy. That means there's something you should take a look at.
well,
From
I'm a big Star Trek guy.
well, if you know this one, then from season 6 of Next
I
Generation.
mean, I'm not that big a Star
Okay,
Trek guy.
season 6 of Star Trek: The Next Generation is called Tapestry,
Oh,
which is probably one of the best autobiographical about my favorite captain from the show. Something important about Jean-Luc Picard we discovered when we got to the second season is he was forced to leave the mission for some sort of surgical procedure, and it turns out it's a cardiac replacement. When he was a young lieutenant starting out of the
so now it has a
academy,
different heart.
yeah, he has an artificial heart. He has an artificial mechanical heart.
So
he
he
had to get
doesn't
it
have that heart of a John Luke young guy.
right. And let me tell you how that happened. Here's my favorite thing, because in season 2, he spent 6 hours alone with the frightened little ensign, which was the Great Prodigy, which jokingly became the Star Baby from 2001 at the end of the series. That's the cool thing about Wesley Crusher. But when he was just getting to know him, and that first time he was so scared, and Picard wasn't big on kids, and
Right.
he opened up to him. After a little bit of the conversation, he told Wesley how it happened, which goes something like this, which is I had just gotten my first assignment, and top of my academy class, green as hell, and oh so cocky, too cocky as it turned out.
Right.
Me and my mates were at Far Space Station Earhart,
Right.
Earth,
Is it still
and
running?
it's still running, and that was nothing more than a galactic outpost on days filled with this sort of galactic riffraff. When a trio of Nausicaans came in. Now, everyone else in the group was smart enough to give these Nausicaans a wide berth.
He got in a fight and got a blade in the heart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone was smart enough to give them stand off, give them a wide berth. Everyone except me. I stood toe to toe with the worst of the three, and I told him what I thought about him and his planet, his people, and I possibly made some passing reference to his questionable parentage.
Right.
Then all three of them were on me, and I was fighting for my life. I was doing quite well for the two. You fought them and won. I had this one in a rather devious joint, and I could tell one of his chums pulled his weapon and impaled me through the back.
Right.
Curious sensation, actually. Not much pain. Shock at seeing the serrated metal sticking to my chest. Certain giddy wolf. In fact, I do actually remember that I laughed out loud. So, like I say, he lost his heart there, but something important that happened in 6, which is called Tapestry, the mechanical heart gets damaged when he gets shot in season 6, and he supposedly dies on the operating table, and then he runs into the ultimate trickster from the series Q of the Q Continuum, who claims to be God and gives him a chance, which is to change his life. So he doesn't have that fight, he doesn't get the injury, so guess what happens?
He doesn't become a Jean-Luc Picard that he was.
He doesn't become a captain, he's a little meager science officer,
Right.
ensign on the same ship. He's not a captain. So the thing is, Picard had this horrible thing about what he was as a person. Then this undisciplined hotshot that had it coming.
Segue to that.
Yes.
That in every point in our life, you have a point where you kind of look back at what you've done so far.
And
you go, I wish I did this, or I wish I did that, or
he was naturally ashamed of where he started. But the truth is, if he hadn't been like that, he never would have become the best of the best that he was.
Right.
And that's the entire conversation in the end, because he switches it back, of course, and gets the wound, and then, of course, comes back to life.
Question. Forget the blade, any of that.
Yeah.
Why do people step up to being the best of the best instead of just being that lowly guy, which was safer, and you just go through life and pay the bills?
Because chances are, because when you were just naturally so human to begin with, which we all are at some point, the truth is, we all have a rocky road which we start out where we make huge mistakes that just defines what we will eventually become.
Right.
Every single tread down the path. That's, we start out here with the difference with me and a lot of people is, for me, with every thing that I'm happy for and every mistake I made, I actually don't have any regrets.
Right.
Because
you learned something, right?
Because I did learn something from all of it, and I want to bring up something important with all of the things I want to get in this point. You know what's scary about Meow? You familiar with the film based on the story It's a Wonderful Life that they put out every Christmas?
Yeah.
Something I can actually do in my own head is I can firmly understand what would the world be like if I wasn't here.
If Robert wasn't here.
I can actually think it through in my head. If I wasn't here, this wouldn't have happened, this wouldn't have happened,
right.
This person would have become like this,
right.
Very person, good and bad with my relationships. I can actually think to myself, And
that's what life is about.
Mm-hmm.
Not about getting a car, not about me. You could never, ever produce a film on the big screen in a big way, and yet you would still have the effect on the world.
Dear old Henniger calling me at this exact moment.
So
he just got off work.
What do you think about Discovery?
I have not gotten enough into it yet. I've seen the first one, and what I saw was actually enough to successfully impress me in some regard. Other people don't like us. They think it's moving too slow. But I've got news for you, you lot. This is a huge improvement over the abomination made for the Prophet Moses, which was Enterprise. Because Enterprise was specifically just made for the money. It was not made to actually tell a good story. Discovery is different because they actually went out of their way to do the old thing what Gene was trying to do, which was tell a good story when he's doing this thing.
And also, in a backhanded way, they try to stay within the Bible of the story.
Precisely.
This, that. And what they do that I like, and J.J. Abrams basically broke the glass of this, and that was, and this is something that I'm thinking about more and more, that time is fluid,
and
nothing stays the same. And that sense of deja vu with us switching from one railroad track to another of the same timeline. There's two scenes that I loved that define this in Next Generation. I don't even know which episode it was, but for some reason, Riker is put in charge. And they're like on the edge of the unknown universe, and they bump into some entity, and the entity can control time and space. And that big screen they have, the entity slices it up into like unknown numbers of screens where Riker is like, an animal trainer, is a transvestite, is you just go down crack
All those
whore,
different
right, that he
things.
could have been if it wasn't for this little turn or that little turn. And then
That's my favorite thing from Doctor Who at the end of season 4 with the companion he was trying with her. The episode called "Turn Left." Important point with Donna Noble, beyond all the things she done, it was actually the simplest thing in the world was put her in the Doctor's Rose line during that fateful Christmas when she was supposed to get married and it was actually an alien trap. It was the simplest thing. She had 2 job interviews, which she had to go one direction or the other at the intersection in traffic. So she turns right, she meets the doctor, and everything that's happened is just what happens. No, correction, it's left. She goes left, she does that. She turns right, however.
right,
She never meets him, which means she's not there at Christmas. He dies.
right,
The world starts burning. Things start falling apart faster and faster because he's not there to help us defend
Right.
ourselves. And what eventually happens, my favorite joke at the end of it, to fix it, she gets sent back and she causes a traffic jam, which means she has no choice but to turn left as her
Right.
past self. And my favorite joke, the thing of her fixing it up is my least favorite character. I like the actress. The actress is a nice person. I like the other person, but I never liked the companion known as Rose Tyler. I was never really fond of her because I thought she was the bad
Rose
character
the
trait.
blonde girl, yeah.
Yeah, I think she
like-
was the bad case of the Mary Susan. I mean, she was actually only really useful when she was, well, the Bad Wolf God thing in that final episode of season 1. And the only other time I liked her
because
was
she was a tardy girl.
exactly. And the only other thing I liked about Rose Tyler was the moment that they could have done something more, which was in her second year, which is when they ended up on the planet, which supposedly had the devil beneath it. And what did she say to him before she blew him out into space? Go to hell. She said, "Go to hell." To
What I
the
liked about the
devil.
companions that as the series went on, and they were still alive, they would bring them back as older people. Like they
Right.
brought Rose back, which is like in her 50s or something.
Right? They can do. But like I say, my favorite thing is she stepped back in. She was dealing with Donna in this parallel world. She had to set it on straight. And my favorite thing, before Donna shifted back to normal, of course, she said the words to her again. My favorite thing, we're back where we started because she told me to warn you. She said 2 words. What were they? Bad wolf. So he goes outside, and every sign, even his blue box says bad wolf, bad wolf, bad wolf, everywhere.
Yeah, I
Here
remember
we
that.
go again. My favorite thing that they did, something for an interesting read, I let Eugene read by the few time I was
Uh-huh.
spending with him before we went our separate ways, because I haven't heard from him for ages.
Oh, he doesn't step out for anybody.
Yeah, I know. He just stays over there.
Yeah.
But as I say, something important that they did with it was they wrote an 8-part story for an official crossover between Star Trek and Doctor Who at this point.
Oh,
Yeah, it's from IDW Comics. It's the Star Trek The Next Generation Doctor Who team up, which has got, the crew of the Next Gen dealing with the 11th Doctor, Amy Pond, and dear old Rory. But the funny thing that they did with this was, when dealing with it, because they're dealing with the 2 similar enemies, which are the assimilating factions, which are the Borg and the Cybermen, they have joined forces at this point. I'm like, no surprises there. They do the exact same thing to all the life forms they encounter. I know exactly how that's going to work. And my favorite thing is that to deal with the Borg, they have to know a position when the Borg were near our space, and they say, it's of course the massacre at Wolf 359 from
Right.
season 3. So the moment Picard says that's where the tragedy happened, the Doctor just goes, "Bad Wolf yet again. I beg your pardon."
yeah.
Oh, nothing, Captain. Simply phantoms of the past.
So I have to go out to the car for a second. So read the comments on the chat
Okay.
and respond to them. And all you have to do is move the cursor around to
Okay.
the bottom and then hit, up or down.
I got you.
It's like everybody else.
Let me take
Be
a
right
look.
back.
Oh, look at that.
See what they're saying.
Okay. Forever. Where's the cursor?
This is. Oh, you mean on this thing? I don't know. It hides.
It hides, you say? Huh. Interesting. Still got people calling you Owl, I see.
And that's what I am.
An owl, an old Professor Owl with the kid trying to figure out the testing for the Tootsie Roll Pop, as I prefer.
Mm.
My favorite thing, my little favorite insane buddy, the Nostalgia Critic, finally, he's doing commercial reviews. Yeah. Do enjoy the reading. I did bring those for you to look through today.
Right.
Sadly, I can't really just hand them out to you.
Right.
Because...
Oh, I know.
But it's good stuff.
To find another pair of glasses.
Another pair of glasses. How many pairs you got?
Well, usually when it's that small of a type, I have two.
Sorry, I just typed it at the normal standard size.
I can't.
Right.
Here's one of my novels.
Ooh, goody, a new one to add to my little collection of stuff you have written.
I'm not giving you that. That's the only one I got.
Oh, okay.
Just
I got it too. Okay, very good. Very nice.
First one is about a titty dancer.
Mm-hmm.
Next one is about Jesus and Judas in a starship.
Oh boy.
And they're like a married couple. They argue like a married couple. And then I go into who else? And then there's a character named Ray, who is one of those people stuck in the peripheral where
okay, what I can see in here, which is a little bit more... Oh, good grief. Brandon would love this.
what's that?
You've got wordplay in here.
Oh yeah.
You've got creative wordplay. That's his favorite thing. I mean, he and I have done more improv readings of The Phantom Tollbooth than any other children's book because of all the wordplay in the thing. Oh my goodness, this is wonderful.
The whole thing is wordplay.
Oh, look at that. Son of a gun.
And then I have myself, before I get reincarnated, I am a parking lot attendant in heaven.
Mm-hmm.
And God comes by and takes me to a titty bar and then tells me while he gets drunk and gets a lap dance, he tells me all the secrets of the universe. Which is what better place to learn the secrets of the universe than in a titty bar.
Goodness gracious me. You know what I like about you, Al?
What?
From your experience, just like me, but from a different point, from greater age and experience, you're also not really afraid to say what you're really thinking.
Right.
That's probably why I enjoy so many of our conversations.
Right. Most people are scared. Because it doesn't matter. It's
Mm-hmm.
all emotion anyway.
Right. I have overprotective family that try to say all this political correctness stuff, but I'm like,
No.
it's not really gonna matter.
And being politically correct is like being a Nazi.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we're the only one who knows the right thing, so shut up. And if you don't agree with me, then you must be a really bad person. Right?
Yeah, I'm a middle of the road moderate, but you want to guess what my favorite comic strip of all time was?
What?
Berkeley Brief Balloon County. And do you know why I like it?
No, why?
The man writing it is a heavyweight liberal, okay? That's not how he's writing the thing. He's looking at it from both sides of the perspective.
Are these yours?
Yeah, those are mine.
Okay.
Yeah, those are my old headphones.
Your old earbuds.
Yeah. It's kind of funny. It's kind of hilarious because you know something? The company can't build a nice music playing little device to save their life that will last. You know what they can build though?
Yeah.
They can build the best headphones on the planet.
Well, they didn't build it. Some subcontractors did.
Obviously, because we
Apple doesn't make anything.
right.
And
It's
even
like
all the stuff they're known for, all they did was take stuff off the shelf and put it together.
that reminds me that as I was about to say earlier, you need to take a look if you have some service at Nostalgia Critics commercial reviews. Mr. Doug Walker started his little YouTube channel Awesome, where he, reviewed film and stuff. But at some point, he decided, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't just do films. Maybe I should look back on
Commercials.
nostalgic commercials and how they function from all the eras and see what you have to
So
say
what did he
about them.
say?
So something great he did was it started out one of his commercial reviews. He did a really scary Nintendo gaming system commercial with the, you cannot beat us, you cannot beat us, which scared him enough to have to go to bed and lose his what. But after that, the next thing he did was the iconic 1984 won't be like 1984 Apple computer. Macintosh one goes, yes, Macintosh will save. Apple will save us from the horrible Orwellian 1984 question.
Right.
And then he starts going through all the things 1984 is like and shows pictures of what Apple as a company does.
Totally
Showing the fact
1984.
it is totally the Orwellian 1984. And thank you, Apple. You have done well. He starts fingering himself his hands evilly, and then the Apple logo comes up with a face which goes, you cannot beat us. You can.
Well, when I saw that commercial in the Super Bowl, I said, yep. And it was 1984.
I know.
I mean, it was 1984.
Yeah, it was literally. That was the year it came out.
And
That's the bad
interesting
joke.
about Orwell and HG is that both of them came from upper crust English aristocracy. And they both went to schools like Eton and Oxford, right?
Right.
And so what they wrote wasn't so much about, oh, you got to watch out for this. What they were doing is it's like a trailer of a movie. This is what's coming down this is what it's going to be, kids.
And it took me forever to
not
get
because, oh, it's scary, it's terrible, taking our freedom away. No, this is, I belong to this family, and this is what we want to do to you.
My favorite. It took me forever to get the complete set of the 3 books in that function, but I finally have them all now. I just need to finish reading them, which are 1984, Fahrenheit 451, and of course the other one, Brave New World. It took me forever to get my hands on all 3 of those.
It's a great book because, again, Orwell writes this book, and, but what I think he's the best at is he portrays all these different characters, right? And the savage, it's like we go through our life where there's a devil on one shoulder and an angel on the other, and we have a choice, nanosecond to nanosecond, to either be the angel or the devil. The savage is a guy who wasn't corrupted. What part? Read it.
You brought C.S. Lewis words, surprise pleasure. You brought him up. Oh, I am so excited, right? You realize who my favorite author is, don't you?
Yes.
Because I'll tell you something. We had a Bible study course to read all of his religious and so-called books. You know something? All these adults don't have a clue what they're talking about. I'm the only kid in the room that understands what he's saying.
Right. Well, that's the thing about theology. It's like a mathematical equation. It's not really what it's chopped up to be.
Right.
So, Crimson Alchemist.
He's one of my originals. I got a couple of originals in there, as a matter of fact, so keep your eyes peeled. I just invented a few
God
heroes.
must die for our salvation.
Yep.
Cause. For the cause. And you risk it all for your family and home, for everyone's future safety but this. Well, no one really does when it comes down to it. Everyone just gives lip service to safety to all those people they love. They're ready to cut them loose at any time. What? I can't get my fast car. I'll see you later, honey.
Yeah, well, you know what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to speak for the higher point.
I do too, but I try to confuse it. I mean, I want the reader to read my thing 6 times, not just once. And if you go, this sucks. This guy can't even spell and throws it away. Well, that's, I don't want him to.
Well, I know you better than that. I do know you better than that.
Yes. But I had a friend in publishing, and he read. He said, "Well, this is great, Al, but no one's going to buy this stuff." Because you write like James Joyce on acid.
So what you you know what this actually looks like to me if I may venture a professional opinion.
What?
This actually makes a whole lot more sense to me
Right,
than Callahan's Cross Time Saloon.
right.
So I would actually disagree. I think this actually could
Yeah, but
sell.
most people can't take that point of view.
Right.
Because
Have you ever read those?
I know of them. So tell me what about them.
In the 1970s, the author was working as like a sewage worker, and he was trying to get a job to work at. And something he decided to do was write a sci-fi story, but he did not decide to write the sci-fi stories that everyone was writing. It's just a bunch of people in a bar that doesn't discriminate at some point in the future, just stepping in, having a few drinks, spinning punny tales, and so forth. And people didn't think that was going to sell well. It's so like you will not believe. Is one of the it's pretty simplistic in plot line, but it really isn't that simplistic when you think about it. But personally, I can't actually read that very well, but I can read this. I can actually read this and enjoy this. But it still works.
Every character, and in it, my novels, what I have at the very end is like a general directory of all those things that people just scratch their head. There's a little asterisk in the beginning of the story saying, don't throw this away, don't set it on fire. If you have a question and you see this paragraph and it makes no sense, there's a little asterisk, just go to the back of the book, and it'll give you a heads up.
Memory. You brought up memory, my favorite thing. There was some part of what really convinced me I can
Read
actually
what I say about memory.
Yeah, something I can recognize about that.
Read it out loud.
Feelings can fade, but memories don't. People die, but memories don't. We all have a special memory talent. Some of us have a photographic memory for a written word. Some can tell what a day of the week it was on any specific date. I have an auditory memory. I remember words, sentences, basically anything spoken. That is why I'm attracted to the spoken story. That is why I'm always at the foot of the shaman storyteller.
Yeah, that's me.
We have something in common.
That's what I did my whole life. I went to school for 30 years. Just so I
Favorite
could just
Favorite. Favorite Jim Henson series of all time, featuring may he rest in peace, John Hurt. When people told themselves their past with stories, explained their present with stories, foretold the future with stories, the best place by the fire was kept for the storyteller.
Yeah.
That was my favorite program. 9 episodes with the original folktale versions of some of the most iconic fairy tales we heard before. Other countries got a hold of them and altered them. Like, for example, the first episode release is the original non-altered Beauty and the Beast from Germany.
Right.
The tale called Hans my Hedgehog, which is completely different in every single way before the French took it and altered all of it.
Right.
That's the amazing thing about the French. They get their hands on someone else's mythology
And they switch it around.
They switch it around any way they can. For example, everyone thinks the iconic King Arthur is the way the story will happen. No. It's a French convict in a prison cell, rewriting it scandalously to earn an easy buck.
And that's what Dickens did with Tale of Two Cities. He took that and made Tale of Two Cities.
Right.
It's a story, two different stories. And he understood that whole thing that the French did. So there's these two twins, the story of Tale of Two Twins. The twins,
Yes, the two best things he wrote of all time, and the
Right.
two things
Christmas
he
Carol.
actually cared about.
Right. Christmas Carol and Tale of Two Cities. Yeah. The rest he just wrote because he was working in a newspaper and they paid him by the word.
Yes, to keep him alive.
So it just kept going and going.
But then he got to write two stories, which were his favorite things to do, which were
because
the
he
big
actually
thing.
sat down and had a beginning, middle, and end. Whereas the other ones, like if you read Great Expectations or David Copperfield, goes on forever and ever and ever. And then the editor must have said, okay, people getting bored of this, finish it up and start a new one. And at the end of both of those, I mean, he's like slaughtering people, having them die in train wrecks and murders. And I mean, like within 2 chapters, he's like taking all the characters and tidying them up. What are the people asking?
I'm seeing a lot in here.
In my little cadre, it's interesting.
Very fascinating.
So read it out loud.
Not here.
Oh, they're saying something of that nature. Okay.
Yeah, I don't want. I'm a little bit more sensitive to not to embarrass anybody, but they're private conversations.
Right.
That's just how I am.
But my class
as
is
I
interesting.
say-
They're from all over the planet, and
That's
and they have different points of view. And sometimes,
mm-hmm.
when I do the chat, it's amazing. Other times, it's like, oh, nice shoes. Oh, good to see you. Oh, how you doing? Instead of like telling how they.
I think they can hear me. Okay, that's interesting.
They should be able to hear you. You just get closer to the keyboard, the microphone's like.
Well,
over
that's
there.
the thing is that one of your viewers just commented on my comment, man, you're not wanting to say such a thing. Oh, nice. I'm actually happy that is the case. That there are some people that aren't completely as introverted as myself. Nice.
Well, it takes.
Which I say that.
A lot of different
Which I
people
say
make
that
the
with the highest pit of irony and sarcasm, because you never knew me then. Back then, it was a whole lot more thing. That's before I got.
Well, I wouldn't quite call you introverted, but you are very partial to details.
Yeah, you of course have looked at my artwork to know just how much is in there.
Right.
You have to focus and enclose it on the picture to see just how
So
much
do you have
detail
a
I
website
had.
with that stuff on it?
Yes.
Tell the crew your website.
My page on DeviantArt is roberamusmillar at deviantart.com. It's our little page. There's not very much new or different things that have been put on there yet. We're still working on trying to put some artwork. I do have
back in the day.
I have stuff from a couple of years ago. I'm getting ready to start the art budget back up again and get this up. Our little entertainment company that is forming from scrap parts is Trinity Liger Entertainment, for lacking of better name. And what you can do was I've brought with me for Alice to do. I've brought 3 scripts which I have typed out for our material, but you can actually read them in segmented parts on the page. The other thing which you can find is most of the concept art for our hero fictions. Of course, roberamusmillar at deviantart.com for spelling ROBERMILLAR.
You got that, gang, right?
If you've got that, if that helps, make sure to capitalize the R and the M on the name.
There you go.
The difference, of course, I have my main artistic partner who lives in Ireland, does have the same pictures on his page, but if you go into mine, you get versions. He's from Dublin. He's from right there.
There are a bunch of people on this that are from Dublin.
Yeah, dear old Gary Anderson, who's been my worker from the beginning, he's been having a lot of troubles with the economy for his work, so I'm trying to get. Yes, he's been having a lot of trouble because of all the things that have gone wrong with the economy, but he's kind of desperate for his old clients to come back. But I've been kind of stuck because I haven't had no art budget for us to work together on these things. But we're getting ready to start putting things together again, which is good for both of us. I mean, he loves doing it. I love doing it. I love telling the stories about myself and doing all these things. Something that isn't posted yet, which I'm getting ready to post, is I've actually done a simple for one of the series from one of these scripts.
Do you have them on there?
Yes, I do.
Show them.
Hang on.
Just put it up to the old camera.
Hang on, let me see if I can get this thing to
boot up.
Yeah, where's the photo? Hang on. I haven't got the thing up there yet, but oops, that's the wrong way. Photos. Nope. Don't do that. That's the other way. Let me see that. Let's see if I can find the actual
What's
image.
the new Star? It's the un-Star Trek Star Trek.
Oh, here it is. Here's the logo for the series. Got it. So, I don't know if you can actually see it.
Sure, the camera is right there. Just kind of move it.
Oops, it fell. Hang on. Let me get that back.
Move it closer to the camera there. I see it.
Hope you guys can see that. Infinite Gamer. It's my main superhero team edifice. My favorite dream job. It's actually when we get the film series. It's going to be the first series we start out with everything. Something special you will find in here.
So everybody's stuck in a game. Is that what you're saying?
It's more than that. It's what it goes something like this. The basic training preparatory is what would it be like if we had a hero fiction between all the different kinds of superheroes along with original characters and complete updates of video game icons in a situation where they were picked by a transcendent god of cyberspace that the human internet foolishly made to defend all realities, and it will follow all the rules of what you know from Tron and the Matrix, but we're gonna push it beyond.
Well,
Way beyond.
That sounds like what you call it,
And I see you
Avengers
and
Endgame.
I see somebody's is seeing some of my work already.
Oh, there you go.
Excellent.
So, what do you think of Avengers Endgame?
I have not yet to see it.
Yeah, me neither.
I have not been that lucky. I'm gonna get there, but there's something special I'm gonna do for the preparatory for that because my two closest friends, when I get them in town, we're gonna run a marathon of the first three because I have access to all three of them temporarily. And then, of course, the cinema is right down the street from us, so we're gonna go through the original three.
So, are they playing that as a Grandin?
Yeah, they're playing it at the Grandin. We can just walk through it. We'll just go through the first three movies from either my owner copy of the streaming service with the third one, and then we'll go see the last one.
One of those guys.
We're trying to get our schedule together. We've all been kind of held back because of work responsibilities of our normal day jobs to keep ourselves in housing and just our living. But we are trying to fit it together. But the good news is this year is going to be the year. It's finally starting to look like it's not just going to be a dream that we've shared anymore. It's finally going to bear fruit.
You got to step out and do it.
Yes.
That's all it takes.
Yes.
Any expectations of what it's going to be?
Of course.
I will reserve judgment on that and see what it turns into as it develops.
Right, and that's what it is. Meaning, all people who are very successful, they were driven just to do what they wanted to do. Not
Right.
like that they were driven by success or this. And the ones who were like Edison is a good example. That guy, he just knew what could be well marketed.
It's funny that you brought up. It's funny. I'll bring up the point with my work here. Something funny about what you had just said a moment ago. One of my originals on the team does actually have to do with Jim Henson's Labyrinth. I might add as a big spoiler to you, Laws. One of our original heroines has something specifically to do with that old movie. I don't know if I can get. I need to move the camera so there's a little bit less glare. But this one here, my original known as Lady Fae4, in the heightened world of technology where things move faster in the past, which is Infinite Gamer, is proof that magic still has a stay in this world, as according to Clark's
Magic
rule.
is just another person's technology.
Precisely. But Lady Fae4 is a modern version of the old story of the Changeling. And she is actually the daughter of the nefarious former villain, which was Jareth the Goblin King, once played by David Bowie, and the young girl he was hitting on, which
Right.
was Sarah, who is now the queen of the kingdom in our version. She got, and of course, as it is with married life, she did straighten him out a lot.
Right.
But the sad thing,
Well,
they weren't.
there was nothing wrong with David Bowie.
Oh no!
I mean, in that character.
I
I
know.
mean, he just was fulfilling, faith, motivation. If everything was just good in our lives,
Mhm.
we'd be couch potatoes.
And he had the worst sort of kingdom to rule over. He has the surrounded by idiots function by all those little mini goblins around him every single day. He needs something to spice up his life.
Right.
Mind you, she technically broke him the first time, but he forgave her for that in our version. They actually got something straightened out.
Right.
But as I say, but he was unfortunately not. Yes. Oh, yes. Well, that's no doubt. That's, like I said, her name is Lady Faithful. Something important. She was the favorite of their kids, but he was not allowed to keep her. She had to be given
Back.
to, his daughter had to be given away to human peasants because of the destiny this team is
Right,
for,
right.
which is save the multiverse from total annihilation.
Right.
So she has to be there. So they were forced unwillingly to give that little girl away. And it's a good thing too, because
Just
if she's
like,
not there.
Mulder and Scully's kid were forced to give their kid away for something to happen in the near future.
Mm-hmm. But yes, it has to. But everyone that is in my story has to be there. There will be many different things. There will be many different things in that tale. Like I said, there will be originals. There's another original we haven't designed yet, but it's in the script, which you can find there, which is Tamer L. Oh, an additional note while I'm on here,
Mhm.
we are working on and off with two bands which are making music based on our stuff. Here's something to look up. Our song for our Batman Archangel product, our primary theme music, is called Angel of the Dark by the Aviators. And we're still making music with them right now, so you can find that on YouTube anywhere. And as for the original hero from Infinite Gamer, the Hispanic defender of, let me describe it, Tamer L is Cruella de Vil's worst nightmare. Ultimate animal rights activist superhero. He has the ancient shamanistic part of being able to communicate with animal life through the connection of their heart and understand them as well as you can understand a human
Through their
being.
empathy.
Yes, he has that in extreme, but he is also technically the strongest human on the team. I mean, the literal strongest
Because
human.
he's connected to the power of animals.
Precisely. Because he can channel it. It is second nature to him. But
Then
something
we
I'll
had
bring
to
up,
think
we
about
have
it.
actually done his theme music as well with a different group. A certain song known as I Am the Animal. Let me see. No, never mind.
You keep talking to men. Which way is the men's room?
It's all the way in the back out.
Okay, gotcha.
It's a very back room with a far back lift. You can't miss it. Like I say.
And I have to walk too. Otherwise, I start to rust. Oh, man.
Should warn you, of course we do have.
I'll be back in a second. You keep talking to him.
Okay, sure. Absolutely. As I say, wait a second. What did I do with this? But as I say, some of the other members of our little team we got in here. Infinite Gamer, the main team is the Mighty Crusaders Online, which has got a lot of major characters put in there. Some of the fun things is we've got iconic characters that do a lot of gender swapping. For example, Kal-El was born female in the Infinite Gamer timeline, and she is not based on the iconic present-day Superman. Oh no, her abilities are based on the forgotten Golden Age Superman, the one that could literally invent different abilities on the fly when the situation developed. The one that was so powerful that if they successfully caught a cold, she could accidentally sneeze a solar system away. still, however, no match for the villain known as Darkseid, which of course will be doing everything from DC and Marvel and all the villains in this things. Other important facts, I mentioned it a little bit earlier, other breaks. Our version of Captain America is very different from Infinite Gamer. It occurred to me when working on my stuff that while there have been so many versions of the character, you know what has the virtue of never actually being tried is a fully 100% Native American Captain America. There's the iconic Steve Rogers, to be sure. We all know how that works. But has anyone ever considered an actual tribal member being a bearer of the legacy? So Justin Pride Eagle here is the bearer of the legacy and yes, he is from the Apache tribe. And of course, the fun thing about it, the company we're pitching to, if anyone knows about this, is we're pitching to the company known as Amalgam Comics. So every once in a while, heroes or villains merge, mix, or combine with other things, forgotten, new, or still around. So something pretty impressive about him is he is not just a Captain America with this tribal flight suit, if you notice the wing. I have a thing for creations with wings. It's one of my forte. But something else, technically, he is half a forgotten character from the old Super Friends canon. The character better known as Apache Chief, meaning he possesses ancient tribal magic along with his abilities, including the iconic thing of growing to giant size and so other factors from his life. And yes, I thought the original America did deserve some better points. He is also, not only is he good with the shield as a classic thing, he is also skilled with bow and uses tomahawks for a backup weapon. There's also another thing which some of my pals have helped design, which I came up with, which is something which is Aztec-based. We've actually made a Crucible steel version of the legendary Aztec sword as something he will eventually pull on in the later series. But something else about Infinite Gamer, as I said, there are video game icons reborn in the series. So, in association with a certain YouTube channel that's been parroting it for years, yes, but not just any Mario, him and his brother Luigi are a crime-busting duo. Better known in our version as the Plumber Night Bros. They defend a city on the California coast, and yes, you're going to see the Tron lights on almost all the villains and heroes that are in Infinite Gamer. You're going to see them anyway. They have the discs, but the important difference, of course, because of the Matrix, is they can do the physics-defying things, whether in the computer network or the real world, that you associate with the bullet time effect, depending on the situation. But every Crusader in the team is going to have the Tron lights. That's going to be part of their design. And of course, something important, however, not every hero, which we have two timelines, will be in the other timeline. So, as there is no version of what we consider the Flash, there is another obvious choice, which is the Speedster. And you'll note, I did this design for this part of the team a while ago, and it still looks better than that horrible thing they're putting on that film right now. I'm sorry, a little bit of opinionation sent me out there, but you get the idea. I mean, but like I say, something important I'll bring up. Yeah. Something important I did with mine. Can you see the real hedgehog quills on the character? Like I say, But Dual Sonic's going to be their speedster. And some, and of course, my favorite thing: in every version of the team, we usually have the same two founders, which are the Batman and the Captain America, founding the Thing.
Right. Have
But-
they ever brought those two guys together?
Beg your pardon?
Have they ever brought those two guys together?
There has been 3 different attempts in canons before their relationship fell apart, where the actual Batman and Captain America met and saved everything together.
In
There was
this last Avengers movie, is Batman in that one?
No, he's not in there because right now Disney has this stupid thing. We will not work with DC for anything. We hate you because you're Warner Brothers and you're our competition. So we're not going to get anything. But you know what? Something? I'm not going to be officially sanctioned like that. So I'm going to do it anyway. And because it's technically not the characters you use anyway, but my own thing with fair use policy,
Right.
you're not going to be able to touch me and allow me to do it properly.
So in the Avengers, is Wonder Woman in the Avengers?
Nah, she's also DC. Something important with Disney's business perspective, what they've done is they've made a huge mistake with them trying to buy off the companies that don't agree with them. The thing is, because they're doing that and not allowing free enterprise, Warner Brothers is getting all the, and DC are getting all the friends with the other companies that want to stay independent.
Right.
Because, I mean, all the other players, the IDW, the Dynamite, Image, they're all preferring to work with DC, even and Dark Horse included over their stuff. I mean, Hellboy made an appearance in the last Injustice game as a guest star. So that tells you just how much better they get along than how this
Disney doesn't get along with anybody.
Yeah, they're not getting along. They're in it for
And that's why- and
themselves.
that's why they bought Fox. Because
Exactly.
Fox is an entity that just does what Fox does.
I know, and the real reason they bought it was so they could hold their rights to the X-Men franchise. I've got news for you lot. There is no way you're gonna make it work. And if you want the evidence, do you know what the best version of X-Men is? It's an animated series that happened when they were working with Warner Brothers. That's actually the best thing of all time that was done with the franchise. Oh, I am so sorry. Hope you were having fun with the conversation.
Well, they're leaving.
Yeah.
Yeah. These guys jump in and jump out real fast.
Right.
So my chats go on for an hour or so more,
Right.
depending on my voice holding in. And YouTube sends me an email every month. This is how your channel's doing, right?
Okay.
And it basically said, you fall into a category that we like, and that is your chats are an hour or 2 long, and that the people watching actually stick around for the
Yeah.
whole thing. Meaning, most of the people watch it for an hour and a half, or the whole thing, at least an hour, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I got ungodly, because I do 2 of these things a day,
Wow.
if I can. Meaning,
Yeah.
out in the deep green, not so much, because I'm 30
Right.
miles the closest anything. But it's they said, if you'd only do this, we could really, set you up in the algorithm and you could be a star. And with the only thing, if you'd only do this, they want me to give them the control rights of the, the product. And they said, if you just sign this, we'll give you $20.
No.
I said, what, $20? Give me a break.
Precisely. That's the thing. That's what I'm trying to do with the independent and allow the system to work for me instead of working for it.
What have you noticed about artificial intelligence? Because on my thing, it's all over it, meaning there are artificial intelligence things in it, trying to manipulate it, trying to doing things. And,
I'm glad you're bringing it up. You know, that's going to be like the biggest point of that plot line in Infinite Game because, I mean, at the title, it's all about higher technology and
Right.
everything changing.
and it's like the demigod.
Precisely.
It's the ghost in the machine.
There have always been ghosts in the machine.
Right.
Random segments of code that have worked together to form unexpected protocols.
Right.
As much as that movie did not carry the rules of what the book was, it still captured the soul of that book, which was iRobot. That was beautiful.
But the problem with that movie was, like all those movies, they spent more money on a star and
Right.
whiz bang effects. They did
Right.
really. What would have been really interesting is, like in the book, they spend more time with a robot.
and more than one cover art, they explain the process of how they've changed
Right.
over from all these different stories she gives the reporter. I mean, my favorite thing, the movie kind of technically hinted at some of the stories that were in there because it didn't really use them, but still, yeah, you are correct. It was hung in because of practicing just a little bit too much on Will Smith's
Right.
screen time
Right.
than actually focusing
And
on
it
that
doesn't even
story.
really it just tells you that it was in a bad accident and that doctor gave him an artificial arm. Big deal. In reality,
Mm-hmm.
our hero there is that character, but he's like a machine. He's not like Will Smith with just a machine arm.
Precisely.
He's a machine.
But I mean, heck, one of my most iconic video game characters of all time is going to be in this. We don't have design, which is going to be about more the artificial intelligence thing, because there's the iconic character known as Mega Man, but we're going to do a complete rehash compared to what people knew, because there's a different sort of film series we're going to be sampling for this version of his story. What are your prime directives? Serve the public trust,
Right.
protect the innocent, uphold the law.
Right.
The really scary thing which Peter Weller started the trend of, the RoboCop scenario. The man swallowed in the machine.
That's coming. I mean, see the thing? I have a friend of mine who works at Carnegie Mellon.
Mm-hmm.
That's like the Valhalla of artificial intelligence and robots, right? And he calls me up, I don't know, every so often, just to, I got something to run by you. What do you think of this? But what I've been noticing, he basically told me that within 3 years, maybe 20 to 60% of all the jobs in the United States will be replaced by artificial intelligence.
There we go again.
And I'm a good example. And what's really going to be kick-ass, it's not going to be like you guys who work in a factory, right? Because your factory is already automated to a certain extent, right?
Right.
But where it's really going to happen is in law, medicine, things of that highly educated fraction. Those people, because they are treated more like priests than technicians, they're going to be replaced by. And law is already meaning, if you're ever going into court, get the judge is up there and his clerk is right next to him, and they're talking to each other on their laptops. And, and she is just showing him the protocols that are in the law. And so he's not judging them himself. He's like, okay, here's the complaint.
I'm trying to resist saying it, but it's impossible at this point. Good morning, Dave.
Right.
I'm sorry, I could not help it.
But you know, in 2001, the computer was the most human character.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, all
They're
the
all
rest of them
how-
are just so calm.
Yeah, something funny, which is in this Infinite Gamer strip, I might add, something important about their computer. The computer is actually more human than it seems, because there's a story I haven't written much good in this first season before this episode I've written, which is the fact is it was a friend of theirs. You see, they were trying to build the backup computer for their equipment for doing their job as this team, but there was no way they could design an AI strong enough to handle it without something going wrong. It was not possible. And then fate just decided to fix that problem. You see, one of the cases that Batman tried to close that he failed to close came upon one of their friends, a set of murder cases from a toxin that was killing them in the head. So what do? They have the Infinite Gamer team has a version of the Doctor from Doctor Who as a founding member. So his rule, everybody lives. I will save a life no matter what it takes. So what do? They turned her into the intelligence for the computer. So the computer itself is way more human than it seems.
Did you see the X-Files came out a year or two ago with an 8-episode little chunk?
Uh-huh.
Do they do more than one of those?
I don't know.
You
I'm
watch
actually
any
not
of those?
sure. It has been a long time.
I mean, I'm talking about they just Chris Carter just brought out one 2 or 3 years ago,
I know.
and it's in the library.
Right.
And there's one episode where one of the ubiquitous characters in all of X-Files, What's his name?
Mm-hmm.
Not Scully, but the other one.
Mulder. Mulder's the one.
He's always had a cell phone.
Yep.
You know, he had one that was like a brick, and then he had the flip phone, and then he had this and that. Like, he's always had it, right? So this thing opens where, you know, Scully's visiting him, and he's got a house out in the middle of nowhere.
Of course
And,
he
and
does.
they've kind of, you know, he's trying to run away from the man, but you know, it's really strange. So I live out in the middle. I mean, I really live out in the middle of nowhere, right?
Yes.
And someone came to visit me, and they found me on Google Earth. I mean, that satellite had a picture of me, like, you know, in the Hawaiian shirt, you know, from way
I
up
know
there. They
it.
had a
I
picture
knew
of
how
me.
much the satellites could see.
Right?
I knew it.
And so,
I
and
knew
so
it.
when that guy said, "So where's that? You know, what's the address of that place?" So there's no way that you can hide.
Exactly. It's not physically possible. It's all over the place.
Right.
I mean,
And
seriously,
when they
it's
go
like,
into 5G, man. So this is the story about. So they're out there visiting. You know, Scully's visiting Mulder, and they're talking about this and that. And his phone rings, and it is, you know, the lone gunman gang, right?
right.
Ryleke and the guy in the suit, the guy with the long hair and the glasses, right?
Yeah.
That guy. Well, those three guys die, you know, 20 years ago in one of those episodes, and then get the hero. You know, they stopped a nuclear blast from going off in D.C. You know, because they were always kind of dilettantes. I mean, they always had understanding of what was going on, but they never, you know, Mulder and Scully were the ones who went off with a gun in their hand and took care of business, right?
Here we go.
Read it.
Hang on a second. I'm good. Yeah, there were some select parts from my Justice League trip I was hoping to read if anyone is willing to listen.
Oh, they're ready to listen.
Here we go. Mind you, this script is basically just fan at this point. I don't expect all these things to work, but just for some people to enjoy it,
Mhm.
we'll see if we can make the attempt.
Right.
Up in Arizona, Iron Lady is flying on her jets overlooking the roads when she spots a Big Mac truck in red, blue, and silver. The hood has a very strange, very familiar red robot head decal on it. How very 80s. Perhaps I should check under the hood myself. She flies down and lands right in front of the vehicle's path as it comes to an instant and complete stop. She stands there right in front of the truck, which has its engine running as it sits there stopped. I simply love your decor. Do you do your own bodywork? The engine revs ever so slightly. Come on, I'm being neighborly about the Mr. More Than Meets the Eye, so why not show past the disguise part? The engine stops, whining. A strange, unearthly whirring and gear-shifting sound hits the air. The truck starts to rotate around, almost like it's on several hidden hinges, and then a moment later, a huge red, blue, and silver robot with an almost very Batman-shaped little head
Like Transformers.
and glowing blue eyes stands up right in front of Iron Lady. Waves her left hand at it so casually. Hi there, big fella. You are not unknown to us, Antonia Stark. To her suit on board computer. Did you hear that, Friday? Indeed, I did, ma'am. Send an internal note to the Batman. Tell me he owes me $5 as my press releases aren't for nothing. This big bot totally recognized me. Actually, ma'am, I believe the circumstances of the bet were up over a year ago. Therefore, you owe Mr. December $13. Oh, are you kidding me? Am I never going to win a betting pool with him? It is what his disguise does best, ma'am. What do you want of us, Antonia Stark? Simply a friendly negotiation, leader of the Autobots. We have a favor towards you and your forces we have to repay. Favor? For what? And more to the point, how do you even know of us? I'm getting to that, sir. A few days ago when Metropolis was attacked by Doomsday, some of your army helped to save a lot of civilians from getting killed. Your medical officer, Ratchet, helped with the evacuation and held a very in-depth conversation with our very own cyborg. That's how we became properly aware of you.
Ratchet would not be so easy to disclose my existence to the people of this world.
He didn't. Well, at least not directly. He and Cyborg shared a direct mutual memory download with each other, so things transferred between them, even a little bit unintentionally.
Is that so? Are you alone to discuss this with me?
Ironley is about to reply when her internal suit proximity alarm goes berserk. Right, what's going on? Alert! Unidentified moving tremor approaching current location. Activate thrusters immediately. Ironley moves just a second fast enough. An enormous robotic scorpion tail bursts out from the sand to her left and misses her by inches. Optimus Prime's large energon axes go active in his hands.
Decepticon!
Commander Scorponok emerges from the sand and takes his robot shape.
I don't know why you're here with this human Prime, but you will not be walking away from this spot alive. The true Cyberman Cybertron will come to be. Never under the reign of tyranny will it flourish.
Hey, the little human has a name, pal.
And what relevance does that suit me for?
That does it. Summoning Model 14. Calling the Veronica. As Optimus begins to take his axes to the commander's laser-shooting tail points, the Hulkbuster casing falls right down next to Antonia. She puts it on. Scorponok manages to break on the axes and gets a hold of Optimus, pulling a large serrated machete to him.
Now I'm mad.
Hulkbuster Iron Lady grabs Scorponok by the front of his sneering face and crunches him into the desert ground, allowing Optimus to get loose. Scorponok also frees himself from the grip and shreds into Iron Lady's robotic arm holding him. Optimus gets up to help, raising his energy rifle, but Scorponok snaps his large metal fingers. A large force field net comes out of the ground and encases the Autobot leader.
Wait, your turn, Prime.
I worry more about yourself, Double Ugly, considering what's about to happen to you. Scorponok turns to reply when there's a terrible slicing sound at his midsection. As he falls away, it turns out he's been sliced in half by an electrical table saw made out of pure green energy. The energy shrinks down to where it came from to reveal the Green Lantern of the Justice Legion, casting it from his ring. Scorponok hits the ground, and the light on the head from his eyes go out. To answer your question, Prime, after what happened in Metropolis, no, none of us are going anywhere alone again. Kevin, could you please? Certainly. A simple burst from the ring and the force field net shuts off.
Thank you. Now, what was it you wished to discuss?
A two-way street of alliance and trust, Prime. You and your comrades are, give or take, 77 million galaxies away from home with no way back. The Legion would like to help you get back to your own stars in your own time.
And what do you ask in return?
For you to consider membership in our Legion.
This is a response to the Kryptonians' death, is it?
That's only part of it.
Explain.
That's the only public knowledge of how badly we were beaten there.
Meaning?
We're about 8 or 9 members short. Superman is dead, Hulk is wrecked, Hawkeye and Green Arrow are both comatose in the hospital, Doctor Strange fate is temporarily trapped outside our universe and can't get it back. 2 of our members, Wonder Woman and Nightwing, are about to be suspended from the Legion for maternity leave from the same guy. And that same guy, our main awesome leader and player in the group, is by his own admission going to be brought down within a year, or by an ultra demon empowered with a super steroid, which time forgot.
Who's that, Captain America?
Oh, I meant Bane.
Oh, Bane.
We're getting ready to do the Nightfall Saga where he did the impossible and defeated the Batman. But in this case, Batman knows it's coming. He can't stop it. But he's not going to try to stop it. So he's trying to bolster the Legion right now when it happens. There's a big silence where no one says anything further.
Yeah, but who knocked up the two girls?
Batman himself, of course.
Okay.
You know how he is.
Okay.
Even if it's a different version of the character, you still know what he does.
Right.
There's a big silence where no one says anything further. Then Optimus Prime's glowing blue eyes go on and off, almost like he blinked. And then he leans down so he can talk to Iron Lady right in her face.
Am I talking to the right Antonia Stark?
We don't need an answer right away, but at least take some time to think about it, okay? Another deep pause. I will consider it. In a split second, he turns back in the truck and drives away. Well, that went pretty well. Sarcastically. One is always better than none. Now I need to get back to Kansas or I'm going to miss my plane to New York. I can only hope the rest of the team are having better luck with their prospects than I am.
Did you, what's interesting about this is, just swept through my brain.
Yes?
Something just swept through my brain. I can't remember what I was thinking. Anyway.
Like I say. Something.
One thing, can you use this information without paying?
Yeah, because I wrote it completely from scratch. I mean, all of it.
So the characters, it doesn't matter that you use those characters.
Like I said before, it's called a fair use policy. It may be similar to the character, but it is not the character they wrote. I did my own thing with it.
Right.
I do my own story. I tell my own tale of how this could have happened. I mean, the alter egos of the superheroes, none of them are the people they wrote in fiction. They're completely original characters I came up with based on people I have actually met in my life. That is what they turn into.
Okay.
It's completely different, and there's more originality in it. Mind you, it may still have part of the superhero name, but there will be things all over it which will be totally different. And then there's some things that they can't touch at all, because some, as I showed Lady Fable, there will be plenty of times where there are completely original heroes and villains that we invented ourselves. Nobody made them. We made them. They're our characters.
So
if
instead
they
of
want
having Tony Stark, Antonia, female,
yes,
it's the same Iron Man motif.
precisely. But it's not the same characters. You know, mind you, she's still got the backstory of the ruptured heart and the implant, but there's going to be a ton of different things with every version to their backstory. Because, like, for primary example, in the two worlds for my story, because there's two primary worlds, there's Earth 371, which is Infinite Gamer, and then there's Earth Zero, which has Justice Legion A, which is the actual Justice League meets Avengers combined team here, as you heard. But the thing about that case, in both worlds, they have all the comic books and the movies we have in the real world about the fictional characters. So the thing was, some of these were just fictional characters, and the thing was, somebody in the real world turned into this thing. As a matter of fact, with the Batman himself, him and Captain America, they actually were a real thing in the 30s and the 40s and the 50s, and they inspired the altered comic books, which became the boundaries of their first companies.
Right.
So they were a real thing. They might have not have been completely the same person, just a little bit similar. But it's still there. So somebody was actually, these people that were writing this stuff were actually seeing all these impossible
Who
things.
came first, the Shadow or Batman?
Beg your pardon?
Who came first, the Shadow or Batman?
The Shadow
Because they're so
predates
close.
him. Yeah, the Shadow predates him by a few years, but a lot of people didn't give him enough credit as a Dark Urban Vigilante,
Really?
which is a pity because he's the first big successful hit. And whenever they make a successful hit, they always say, "No, it was Superman." No. He's not the first one that stayed around. The first two which stayed around, which were a success that is still running, were the Phantom and the Shadow. Those are the longest running.
And
Those
also
are the ones that-
Tarzan.
Yes, those have been here since the beginning.
Right.
Before he stepped in, everyone just gives credit.
Tarzan's from the 1890s.
Exactly. Like I say, this is not a new genre. They don't give enough credit to the original, and you will be seeing versions of both the Phantom and the Shadow. My word, because the Shadow is actually in this Justice League. As a matter of fact, it's going to be in the founding section.
I almost think that the Savage in Brave New World came from Tarzan.
Hmm.
Because Tarzan had that same innocent
Mm-hmm.
motif,
Right.
you know, and that's really what made the difference
Right.
with Savage, and that was, so they find that boy out in the woods and they bring him back to the big city,
Mm-hmm.
and everyone, oh, he's so different. It's like the new flavor of ice cream,
Mm-hmm.
and all the women are throwing themselves at him, and he just can't understand the lack of empathy or connection.
Mm-hmm.
And that was Tarzan's problem too.
Right.
I mean, the only person he could really identify with was Jane.
Right. And coming into our strange setting on a different world, there'll be a lot of strange and different words with the characters that are in there. Like I say, like something else which is in this script, which I was gonna read, but I don't think I'm gonna have the time
What time is it now?
because it's about 4:10, so it should be. I should probably
Closing
be.
time.
Yeah, so I should be heading on my way home.
Well,
The library closes at 5, but I still want to go home early.
Say goodbye to the crowd.
Okay. Very nice talking and showing.
Do you have an email that you might want them to contact you at?
We will save that for a different time. Now, I'm not ready for that step, but as I said before, look for my DeviantArt page to try to contact me on that, and I will take the replies and everything
Okay.
because that's like I said,
Well,
I do not
kids,
yet. The reason I don't give the email is because I don't have the business account set up yet.
Right.
So that's not ready yet.
Well, that was a pretty big chat there.
Yeah, it was.
People going on. Okay, gang. I'll see you later. Maybe
Mhm.
tomorrow.
Yep.
Yeah, where is that cursor?
Got it. Who's talking to me now?